Greetings everyone, this is Jim Delapine, and I'd like to do a demo for you to show you different options that you have with buttons and show you how to create your own button using Illustrator. And I also want to let you know that I just placed a number of reference files in the student files folder that you can refer to that can be a source of inspiration for you and also a source of information that can show you coding. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to first preview this, Control Enter, and let's talk about what I created here. Okay, so if I hover my cursor over the button, you get this occur. If I hold my cursor down, it goes back to the original state. Okay, so the overstate obviously changed. If I click it, I get this occur. Okay, so let me do that one more time. All right, so let's talk about how this was created. First of all, let's open up this button state here, and I want to access the button. So I'm going to select the fuse option here, okay? I'm then going to change the background color of the stage, but notice this is, if I scrub this playhead here, this is occurring, okay? So you don't see the actual flare of this, glow because it's a movie clip. You have to preview it to see it correctly. So I'm going to select the stage and change the color to a light gray so I can show you what I did. So this could have been done creating a mask, but what I did was I took a simple rectangle and animated the movement of it to cover up that fuse and be lined up with that glow. Okay. All right, so let's exit that state and let's open up that button. By double clicking on that, you go into the editing mode for that button. Let me show everything here. And let's look at the states here. So what I did was this. I noticed that in layer 3, the bottom layer, all right, let me just only show that layer by all clicking on the visibility icon. And once I get to the up state, you'll see that glow. So I simply created that in Photoshop, brought it in as a PNG file, which retains transparency, and that allowed me to place that into the overstate to give the illusion of it glowing. Also with the text, okay, which is on layer 2, I simply brought it in and changed the color of it, okay? So now note the hit state, and this is a very important thing I wanted to talk to you about. The hit state is the state that will react to wherever the mouse is hovering. Okay, so right now I'm telling Flash to react to wherever this green shape is. And notice that it lines up perfectly with the push to enter button. If I took this hit state for a dramatic example here and moved this over here to the right, all right, and then previewed this, once I hold my cursor hovering over the button, nothing occurs. But if I hover my cursor on the right here where I placed that new hit state, it's reacting. Okay? So that's a simple explanation with regards to that. So let me just go back and revert, and we'll start fresh. And I want to go into Illustrator. All right, so in Illustrator, I've set up my document here to be 1366 pixels wide by 768 pixels high. Just to refresh your memory here, you need to create your stage size in the properties window, and that will be seen right down here. All right, the size. So you can edit that size right here. So back in Illustrator, we're going to open up the symbols library. Okay, so you can go to Window Symbols, or I know that they happen to be in the swatches palette attached as a tab. So I'm going to grab that tab out. And then I'm going to click on this drop-down menu in the upper right-hand corner and select Open Symbol Library and go over to Red Buttons and Bars and select that. All right, so I have a number of options in here for buttons that are already pre-made for you. So all you need to do is drag one of these over, and you could experiment with different ones. Drag them over, see what they look like, and decide if you want to use them or not. I'll work with this button right here. So I'm going to save this file, and I will save this as a file named. All right, so I will go back to Flash and go to File, Import to the library, and here is my button right here, and I will double click to open up the dialog box for importing, and I'll just hit OK to the default, and I will bring that in to my library. All right, so let me just collapse down, and now we're noting that we want to find the button file, and that would have come in as an AI file, and here it is here. I have a new layer created already called new button. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is create a button. Okay, so I'm going to go to insert new symbol, and I'm going to select button, and I'm going to call that enter. Hit OK. So we now have a button called enter right here. So with the upstate active, and it comes up here by default with a blank keyframe, I'm going to drag my button AI file onto the stage. And the first thing I want to do is I want to convert this over to a movie clip because I want to be able to edit the color of this. You access that change by hitting F8, and I'm going to select movie clip, and I'll just call this button new. And I'll select the center option here for the registration, and now we have our new button. Okay, so now it's a movie clip. All right, so you can see right here it's a button new movie clip. Now here's the reason. If it's a movie clip, we have a variety of different options here, additional options. Okay, so what we're going to do is create a filter for this. Here's what we need to do. We need to duplicate this to the overstate and the downstate. So with this active, all right, by clicking on that first keyframe, I'm going to hit F6 2 times. So it duplicated it to the overstate and the downstate. I'm now going to edit the overstate. So with the overstate active, and I'm going to click on the button itself. You need to click on that to actually get access to these filters, etc. All right, I'll click on the filter, and down here in the lower left-hand corner, you see the Add Filter option. I'll click on that and select Adjust Color. Notice you have other options here for filters. Okay, drop shadows and glows, etc., etc. So you may want to experiment with that. So in the Adjust Color settings, we're going to change the color, so I'm going to adjust the hue. So I'm going to hover my cursor over that little 0 there. You'll notice that left to right double arrowhead. That means you can scrub this. So I'll click and drag to the right, and notice I'm changing the color. So I'll make this red, and I'll now increase the brightness of it by also increasing the saturation, so it's brighter. All right. So we have that change occur. So here's what's happened. In the upstate, you have that. Once you hover over it, you get a different color. Okay. And we could also then go to the downstate, select that, and create a filter for that. And I'll go to adjust color and perhaps make this green just for variety and for demonstration purposes. Okay. All right. So we have these 3 color changes occur. I'm going to create a new layer and type in the word enter, all caps. Could be skip, could be whatever you like. Then going to notice that it's coming up with Arial in the font. You can change the font here from the drop-down menu. You could change the size of it in this area here, but notice that it does have to be selected in order for that size to be changed. Okay. So once you're happy with that, bring it into your button here, center it, and you now want to also duplicate that. So it's on its own layer. So I will select that state and hit F6 twice. So once it's in the overstate, what I can do is go in and edit the color of the text if I want. Okay, so with the text tool active, I can double click on the word and I'll change the color to a yellow. It's going to look horrible, but it's okay. All right. Let's create another layer, and we need to create a hit state for this button. Okay, so I'm going to go to the hit state column, I created a new layer, and I'm going to hit F7 to create a blank keyframe. All right, so that will be an area for content. So we have a blank keyframe that's needed for us to place contents in there. So now what I'm going to do is, if you can't see the button, but you need to be able to see it to create a shape that will surround it. So I'll go to the bottom area here, these tiny little icons. Once you hover over an icon that says onion skin, click that. And that gives you a ghosted view of the previous frames, okay? You could include all the frames if you want by clicking and dragging this over, but it's not necessary, okay? So now what we'll do is this. I'm going to create a simple shape that will represent that enter button. I can select the rectangle and just create a shape that covers it just like that. All right, I like to create my hit stapes in a bright green. Okay, so if I double click on it, I can go in here and make it a bright green, and I also want no stroke. All right, so I just don't like to have any stroke, so I double click once I see that curved shape right there, and then you double click and that will select the entire stroke, and I'm just going to delete it. All right, so now I'm going to exit the onion skin mode and now go back to the scene. So now we have our button set up. We'll go back to the scene and a new layer named new button. I'm going to go to the button that I created called enter, drag that onto the stage. Okay, I can now scale that by going to the free transform tool, or you can also scale that by going to the properties panel, and with the width and height linked together with this little chain here, I can click and scrub that to reduce the size or increase it. If you want to increase just the height, you can click on this chain and scrub that. You can stretch that if you like, okay? But let's leave that as is. So now if I preview this, notice when I hover over it, you'll see that change occur. When I hold my cursor down, you get that third change, okay? So that's an important concept to understand, the hit state. That should definitely help you with noting the hit state, okay? I want you to definitely place hit states on all of your buttons, all right? It doesn't have to be these buttons from Illustrator. You can create a button out of anything you'd like, okay? So let's see. One more thing I wanted to show you was how that fire was created. So if we open up that movie clip, all right, so if we look at that, notice as I scrub through each of these frames here, all right, that's all that is, all right, and it's looping, okay, that's what that is. Now, I actually downloaded this from somewhere, I forget what it is, I didn't create this, but you can see the possibilities. I mean, if you're good with Photoshop, you can create your own, all right? Before I go, there is one more very important thing. I provided you a file that includes button sounds, okay? And I have it open already here. And there's nothing on the desktop, but if you look in the library, you have an assortment of sounds that you can preview by selecting one of these and clicking on this button right here. Okay? These are meant specifically for buttons. Okay? Now, here's what you're going to do with it. All right, so let's go back into my enter button mode. Let's see, where's my enter button? Here it is. So let me double click to open that up. I'll create another new layer and call this audio. Okay, and I'm going to, in the overstate, put a blank keyframe. Okay, now here's what you want to do. In order to get access to the button sounds from this file and bring it into this file, what you're going to do is this. You're going to look at the top of the library here, and you'll note that there's a drop-down menu here. What you're going to do is click on that drop-down menu and select button sounds. So what you're going to do, what you're actually doing is accessing the library from another file from within this file. Okay, so we're still in the Fuse file here, but you can see all of these new sounds here. So you can select whatever one you want, and what you're going to do is simply drag it onto the stage, and bam, it comes right into the overstate. Okay, so that means that when we hover over that state, you'll hear the sound. Or let me undo that. I'll create a blank keyframe in the over state, and this may be preferable. So this way, if I drag any of these sounds over into the down state, you'll only hear that sound when you click on the button. Okay, so notice this little wave here that represents the sound. Feel free to experiment with that. Okay. Some sounds, I mean, they're very subtle sounds, but they're interesting. There's also a sound in here called camera shutter. It is the sound of a 35 millimeter camera clicking, okay? So that might be interesting if you're creating something using a photography site, for example. All right, guys, I've talked long enough, and I hope that helped. Take care.